Isaiah Hoeft, and I'll be playing the second movement of Fuzzy Bird Sonata by Takashi Yoshimatsu.
Okay. Hey, nice to meet you. Amazing playing. So how long have you been working on this?
I worked on it for about 3 months for a state back in March, and then I kind of let it collect dust, so I kind of picked it back up.
And did you, what made you choose this piece to play? Like, what speaks to you about this piece? Like, why do you like it?
This piece?
And I mean, the piece as a whole, but in particular this movement too, if there's anything.
I don't know. I listen to a lot of the classic, the staples or the when you look for saxophone repertoire, there's usually people there's pieces that you're told to play. Yeah, and I just kind of did some research and I don't know. I like this one better than most of them, so.
Yeah. What if you think about the second movement in particular? I feel like this Yoshimatsu's music is it's very distinctive, and even the way that a lot of this is written, what makes it different than other pieces that like Iber or Creston or something like that?
There's not much of a tempo or a feel,
Mm-hmm.
like a rhythm really.
Mm-hmm.
It's mostly just
I think there's a lot of.
one big cadenza kind of.
Yeah, it's one big cadenza. There's a lot of rubato. The music itself has got a lot of like excel, retard. There's lots of like kind of weird looking contemporary things where it's like, it's basically he's writing in a style that's what's the word I'm looking for? Like parlando, or it's kind of like talking, right? Where it's not necessarily always strictly in tempo, but it's conversational. And there's a lot that you can do with that. You've got a lot of freedom. I mean, you're a bird, and he's telling you to sing in this movement, so, right? I think one of the things you can really do especially when you have a lot of these like feathered beam ideas, so a beam that's starting small and then branching out into three, or like starting S3 and coming into one, to really bring across these speeding ups and these slowing downs, right? You want to think about having an extreme on either end, and it's usually a better bet to start with being more extreme on the slower end, so that you have more room to dig in to the contour of the phrase, and that you're not speeding up too fast, or you're not like blowing through anything. So on the second line, so this is like the second measure of the second line, right? The 13 tuplet grouping, right? And followed by the 10. So it's really just like a feathered beam that he said, excel, retard, different way of writing that. Can you play those two like beats there? So the grouping of the 13 and the 10, and can you just play it without any excel or retard, just dee da dee da dee, like just straight the notes straight. And so, what would you say is the most important part of that idea?
Where it switches?
Yeah, where the notes are changing. So the contour going down and coming back up. So try that again. Same speed, no tempo fluctuations, but really bringing out the descending and the ascending in relationship to that top note just staying the same. Okay, good. So it's almost like we have two voices, right? It's like there's a pedal at the top, and then we're bringing out this descending and then ascending. So now adding in the feathered beam idea, I want you to start as slow as you just did, right? And then speed up, a little bit, not too fast, but the main thing that you're aiming for is to preserve that contour. So you never want to get too fast that you're starting to lose it. And it helps by, starting off like dee da dee da dee da dee da dee da dee da. Yeah. And so by the same token, on the back end of that, you really want the retard to retard, like to differentiate that even more. So we're thinking in these extremes, ideas of extremes. So try that from the fermata now before that. And when you get to that excel and retard, right, don't feel that you have to excel so fast right away, and that when you are retarding at the end, you're really pulling it back. Yeah. So and you can you can play around with how fast or slow that you want to go, but as long as you're thinking about where are my starting points and my ending points in terms of the tempo, and then what's the actual thing about that I'm trying to say with this, and what we're really trying to hear is that descending and ascending contour with that. And so there's that idea in and of itself, it comes back in a lot of different forms throughout this, right? I think there's one a couple parts where he has them notated as grace notes, right? So I think where would that be? Like second page, fourth line, right? Yeah. So how might you think about interpreting this differently the way that he's notated, right? So you've got the same like high pedal, but now the ascending contour line is grace notes, right? And those grace notes are each slurred into the top note rather than the whole thing being together. So how might you think about that differently than the phrase you just played on the first page?
The drone note is like or accented, or it's the center of the idea, and the notes that go up and down, they like hug to it, closer to it.
Yeah. So it's like the hierarchy switched, right? So now we've got our pedal or drone at the top as being the voice that's strong, and the ascending contour as just these little kind of blips going in there. So try that there. Same idea though with the speed, right? So we're thinking differently in terms of our hierarchy of voices, but also we want to do the same thing with the extremes in terms of our speed. So to really get that excel, right? Make sure you're not starting it too fast, so that you have space to go. Yeah. So try that again. Try that there. Yeah, awesome. I mean, I feel like this, there's, this whole movement is really just a bunch of variations on that kind of idea, right? And so, if you're thinking about your extremes in terms of the speed at which you're going, and then the hierarchy of the voices that you're trying to bring out. If you think about those two concepts, they apply throughout the entire movement, just in slightly different contexts. So I think that would be a good starting point of places to think about how you're shaping this movement musically, especially when it's rubato, it's very free and like cadenza for like the whole movement. It's really up to you to give the movement its shape, and these are some things that you can do to really solidify that. Yeah. Cool. So I'll pass it on to Bob now. Thanks for playing.
Could you remind me your name one more time?
Who's that?
What was your name?
Isaiah.
Isaiah. Hi, I'm Bob Eason. Yeah. Cool. Beautiful. So tell me about, Corey got into this a little bit, but tell me about the character of this movement.
So, kind of like grieving something, maybe?
Okay.
Or
Okay. It's very atmospheric, right?
Yeah.
Like it's not about, you know, it's not in the same kind of structure that another typical saxophone piece would be, right? It's very free, and so I think every aspect of the way you play has to contribute to that in a really meaningful way. And so I think from the very beginning, I want you to be really aware of, you know, your body as you play. So there's two things. I want to see if we can get two things kind of zeroed out from the very beginning. I don't know if you know, but when you play, the left shoulder's up like this, right? So try to just like, just be totally relaxed in your shoulders, okay? And you know, the way that we hold our instrument is obviously personal preference. Try to find just the most relaxed position you can. I like to let like my E-flat key guard kind of rest against my hip. Like I don't hold the instrument out too far, but just try to be as relaxed as you can. And then the second thing is that when you start, you don't need to necessarily show everybody when it's going to happen. When you played earlier, you were just very formal in that you went. But you could just sneak in. So try that. Take your good breath, but then you don't need to necessarily tell us when you're going to start. So still, I saw your body kind of went.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, beautiful. I think the next thing is that we can really dig into this pianissimo world, okay? We've got pianissimo, and then we've got a lot of stuff, but all of it is beginning at pianissimo with this crescendo, right? So let's start at a true pianissimo, and this is a wonderful room for us to do this in because it's very live. When you play, it just instantly goes. So draw them into you. Make them listen to you. Continue. No, too much. So let's take this to heart. The pianissimo you started at was beautiful. You brought it up just a little bit. Let's just leave it there. We've got the whole rest of the piece to get into it.
Yeah.
Yeah, beautiful. I thought that, just in terms of just the line itself, was very evocative of, like you could hear a bird in the distance. I think we have a lot of decisions to make about how we do the grace notes and kind of, what effect we want them to have. I don't think they necessarily need to be a super, like a blatant or like an elbow jab. They can just be more of a murmuring, So I think the same thing. It's introspective even with the grace notes. Okay, try one more time. And let's keep going this time. Yeah, so if that's like our absolute baseline, and you want to like sprinkle like a little extra something on top of it, I think that's beautiful. But I think we can really honor the dynamics of composer row by starting there, and sure, add tenutos here and there, and bring out the extra stuff you want to bring out. I got it, man. Thank you. But I think that sets the stage to just be really calm. And when we've got these really big leaps in the grace notes, like from here. So we have B, F sharp, right? Can you just play those two notes out of context, just beyond? Yeah, one more time. So when you go to start the grace note, sometimes I hear a really loud pop of the tongue. That's a whole different conversation. But I want you to use way less tongue, way more air. Okay. So what I want you to try to do is to maybe start the air a little sooner, and aim for the F sharp rather than the B. Okay, that one was really nice. Now back up one note. So now we just start on the F sharp. Yeah, I think if you can keep it relatively smooth and connected like that, I think that's really effective. As I was listening to you play this earlier, sometimes the grace notes were just really outside of the texture. And part of that I think is just when we see grace notes, we think, oh, that's a really fast thing, but it doesn't necessarily have to jump out quite so much. Yeah, beautiful. I think let's keep going. Actually, I wanted to jump ahead just a little bit. Could we start at here? Okay, very nice. So I've maybe a couple of questions. How come you're breaking here?
I've heard recordings of movies ago. I think there's two of them.
Mm-hmm.
There's more than two, but
Sure.
some of them he does, some of them he doesn't.
Okay, I think if you're going to break, the gesture needs to still be in motion. Because we have one big overarching slur that goes from here all the way to here, right? So if you're going to break, the momentum has to be such that it's continuing. Bi-da-da, ba-dee, ba-da-dee, ba-da-da, ba-da-dee, ba-da-da, ba-da-dee, ba-da-da, ba-da-dee, ba-da-da, ba-da-dee, ba-da-dam. Okay?
Yeah.
Try it. But this one's forte. Is that the first forte we've got?
Yeah.
Yeah, man, go for it. Yeah. Yeah, and I think you can repeat a couple more times. Enough to really build up this idea that we're going to kind of launch into the next figure from that repeated idea. Yeah, great. And when we get to this fermata note at B, you can hang out a little bit longer so that the last little bit is almost like an afterthought. Be da da dum, bum bia dum bia dum. One more time from here. Yeah, beautiful. So I think as you're working on this piece, try to have a couple of things in mind. The first is that we want to use what the composer gave us as like kind of the baseline structure. So it could be dynamics, it could even be repeat like exactly this number of times. Yeah. It could just be that, trying to see like what does this big slur actually mean? But try to use all the information that you have to then take and make your own. I think that's the first thing. The second thing is I think you can have maybe more of an arc in a performance of this movement. Where is like the biggest point? Yeah, right, the kind of gnarly altissimo thing. I think you can build up a lot more to it. Like each of these fortes we have, so 1, 2, 3, 4, those are all different, right? If we really think about how we utilize the dynamics on a page, particularly for 20th century work, the first forte may be here, the second one may be here, the third one may be a little bit lower. So I think however you kind of start to look at the big picture of this movement, try to think. Corey was talking about the hierarchy of when we have different lines. Dynamics also have their own kind of internal hierarchy. Like if this is the biggest point, we got to think, how do we get from pianissimo to there in a way that's really thoughtful? Yeah. Okay, but yeah, excellent job. It was really a pleasure to hear you play.
Thank you.